to Kari-Lee Grant. I am an instructional support and resource specialist at the Long Island RBERN. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Nicole Rosefort, and I wish you all a wonderful, insightful session.
Thank you, Kari-Lee. And those of you who attended the first session, you certainly had not only Kari-Lee, myself, Dr. Georges Fouron, and Yves Raymond, who shared with you some information as far as how we can provide CRSC and sell, to our Haitian students. Basically, this year more than ever, CRSC and SEL have been of major concern, as some of our schools have seen an unprecedented influx of new students, especially new immigrants. For some, it's been an increase in their L population, and for others, it's receiving Ls for the first time. And that's become very challenging, right? In our first session, we looked at the students coming to us from Haiti and the school experiences they bring. We discussed the what, why, and how of CRSC. In this session, we'll do a very brief summary of what we discussed, and we'll spend some more time exploring language and education and how we can best support our Haitian students. So we welcome you. We certainly appreciate your taking the time, to look. As you know, you've seen all of this on the news, and our purpose of giving you certain information, and Dr. Fouron did an excellent job, is to see that it's not just this picture that we should be aware of as far as Haitian students are concerned. They should be aware of the full history, and even some of the students may not know themselves the full history of their country and how proud they can be of that history. So we made a point of really giving you real information and not just what we just see on the news.
Yeah, and I actually got the same thing.
Somebody's not on mute. That will be helpful if you can do that.
Yeah, I just muted them.
Okay. All right. Now, we continue having students coming in, even though really it's very difficult to travel from Haiti right now. You may see still some influx because Haitians will find ways either way to come from this mighty little island, and how they can travel to wherever so they can get out of the insecurities, that they are living in, right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if you still see an influx of students coming in. And I know some of you may have students that are here one day and the next day they're someplace else, but that's the situation with the migration problem right now. So, we just have to be aware of that. I just met a family, for instance, who came. They were actually in Dominican Republic, had to go to the north of Haiti so that they could go to the Bahamas before they could get to Newark, New Jersey. Then they ended up in Syracuse. So there we met them at the NYSED conference. So you have Haitians traveling from all over. And I know we're getting them all over. Now, again, our students come from different experiences. As we said before, they might have gone through the trauma of this kind of travel. Definitely a lot of them may come that way. Some of them may have come from Texas when they were bused to us from Texas. Some of them, happened to fly in some way. Some of them were already here, perhaps, that they flew. So not just you don't only have Ls or recent migrants, but you also have Haitian students who may have been born here. A lot of the majority of our Ls are actually born in the United States, and not just for Haiti, but even for Spanish-speaking students, Chinese-speaking students. A lot of them are actually born here to parents right here. So, but they come with that rich heritage that we should help them maintain language culture and understand, where they came from. The other thing we spoke about is the different type of schooling information experiences that they may have had. They may have come from schools, like this, or they may have come from schools like that, and they may have come from type of experiences that we are used to, for instance, here. But they may be just having very meager. But all Haitians are very, very, very take education as really the key. We say knowledge is power. They know that knowledge is power, and education is that key that brings them to this part of the soil. So again, we have to be cognizant of the fact that our students may come from these types of different experiences. So we discussed that last time, but I wanted to at least review that for those of you who may not have been here before. So they may be used to group work. They may be used to modern technology, etc. But you may have students who just didn't have that kind of experience. And so, you know, it makes it even difficult. As we see now, even our tests are being given on computers. So how are we going to be preparing these students for that type of work? They may be used to a small group work, individual, but they may not, they may have been in a classroom full of more than 30 that we know, more than the 30 students that are usually in our classrooms. The grades are more or less the same as in the United States, basically, except perhaps at the high school level where they have an extra year. So those students may be ready, if they have gone from rhetoric and philosophy, that they may be ready to enter the university level. All right, so we have basically given you an idea. But so again, we encourage schools to really look at the children's transcripts if they happen to have school documents, you know, to give them the credits that they can use, especially at the high school level, so they can graduate. Okay, they may come from different types of environments, different cities, different type of housing, etc. So we spoke about that. And again, you know, a student coming here, okay, what kind of experience does he really need to integrate into this kind of environment here, into this kind of society, and where are they coming from? What do they have? So we talk about CRSC in a way that, you know, not because we just want to, but it is a framework that's been established by the New York State Education Department and by many education departments to really give stakeholders a way of implementing the policies that they have you know, that they have promulgated, and how to actually do that and how they can help to do that. Now we know that ESSA and CR Part 154 are regulations that govern the services of ELS, which districts and schools must follow. And we say must follow because, like, we don't choose to teach English, math, social studies, because those are Commissioner's Regulation 100 that we must follow. Well, we also must follow Commissioner's Regulation 154, which governs the education of these students. So it's not the goodness of our heart that we do this work. Yes, it's good that we're good. We have good hearts, but it's also very important that we do the work that we are designed to do. The policy of the New York State Board of Education also encourages us and support efforts at the state and local level to create within every school an ecosystem of success that is built upon a foundation of diversity, equity, inclusion, access, opportunity, innovation, confidence, trust, respect, and caring. Now, you know, when we look at those words, respect and caring, we wonder to what extent that we really take that into consideration in implementing policies in our schools. So again, we say, okay, why must we do this? Well, we must do this because that's the job that we have. We may say that, you know, a few points we can mention is that we do CRSC to see that culture is, to really recognize that culture is valuable in the work that we do, to leverage the knowledge of students and families that they bring to the schools, so everyone can really do better to match the students and families need, and to understand how we must use that knowledge to meet those needs. We like to explore existing inequities, how these inequities are rooted historically, and how mitigating them can close gaps in opportunity between students both in and out of school. And then to learn about other cultures and languages, and learn to appreciate and respect them as well. So that's why we do the work that we do. Now, we did concentrate on 2 of the 4 pillars of the framework, which is welcoming and affirming environment and ongoing professional development. Those are the 2 that we really looked at, and how we can support in aligning our curriculum and instruction to the histories, languages, and experiences of traditionally marginalized voices. This thing is playing with me. Let me move that a bit. Okay. Now, how are we implementing all these mandates? How do we acknowledge families' individual needs and how those needs are addressed? All these parents, all of our parents want their children to succeed, no matter where they come from, no matter what experiences they've had. Now, our immigrant parents believe that this country is the land of opportunity where they seek a better life for their family. Many have suffered much trauma on their journey to these shores. Now, do they really feel welcomed as they begin to enroll their child in school? Does equity mean treating all parents the same way? Must we treat all parents the same way? Well, we look at the culture that we have and the culture that our parents bring, and how do we provide differentiation in those cultures? For instance, when we have, I don't know, for some reason I lost something here, but but I'll tell you what I wanted to have here. Basically, you know, when we hold parent-teacher conferences, for instance, I want to look at some examples. Now, people of different languages and different cultures look at these differently. And do we look at parent and teacher conferences differently? Culture can sometimes play out in ways that can create inequities. So, you know, when we have parent and teacher conferences, let me bring, oh, it's not coming up again. Okay, anyway, that's okay. Anyway, the automatic mindset that we usually have when we look at for instance, parent-teacher conferences or other activities that we have in the schools, you know, we say, well, you know, the parents not coming, the parents are not responding. So what does that really mean? You know, do we look at it that it is a parent problem, or is it a school problem? And what are we going to do about that very, how do we assess? Let me see if I can get this. Okay. How do we assess the reasons why parents may not be participating? Or do we put the onus on the parents? How did the school prepare parents for the events? How are the events communicated? Who informs the structure and practices of how we communicate with families? And how much do they understand the culture that, you know, they're living in? How we ensure that all parents have a voice and equity in how they assess that communication. So when an equity like this happens, there is often a temptation that we put the onus and the responsibility on the parents. You know, we say they didn't show up, but in truth, it's an inequity. The opportunity for parent-teacher conferences were not equally available to all parents, nor is the approach to the conferences or formats that these are conducted in culturally and linguistically available to everyone. So instead, we should ask ourselves how our school might be meeting some needs and not others, and understand that cultures are not mutually the same. You know, they are different from one another in the school. That the parents are getting to inform the content and structure of the school, how the school is run, and obviously some parents are not getting that. So some people are the center of school and some are marginalized. Some are the top of the hierarchy of school, and some still stay not present and absent. Okay, so the bottom line, we in an American education system assume a lot about parents and students. We need to acknowledge how culture does influence our judgments and how school runs. It's important for us to ask ourselves, how do we become more aware of what we can do to make the school environment welcoming to all students and make it familiar to all families? So again, so we look at this and we have to ask ourselves, okay, what can we do? How can we look at it differently? What can we do to really help the parents participate in what we expect for them to participate? Okay. All right, I think we've made that point. Okay. I want to move on quickly. I just wanted to give you a few examples. So, instance, you know, we have all these mandates, regulations, Bill of Rights, you know, and yet we wonder how really truly that really applies and how it is implemented. Parents have the right, for instance, do they know that they have a right to a free public education for their child in a safe and supporting learning environment? What does that mean? From kindergarten to age 21, or up to the receipt of a high school diploma, regardless of immigration status. They should not be asked for visas, social security, or citizenship documents and status. I'm saying this and it sounds okay, but let me tell you, I go to many schools and I don't see it. It doesn't really happen. So we want to make sure that our staff, our school staff, all of our school staff is aware of the law, that applies, to parents. To what extent do we communicate, in the languages of the families? To what extent do we really provide bilingual education? So many parents just say, are just told, well, just check ENL on the form, since that's all we have on the school, in the school. I just lived it just this week in a school, trying to help immigrant family register. Okay. And do they know that the hotline is available to them? And how familiar are they with those 17 rights that they really have? So we want to make sure that not only parents, but teachers, and everyone, is aware that this work must be done. And if we need to get help from others to do the work, then we try to do that. So the state created this parent line to provide parents, guardians, and other persons in parental relations, as well as schools, to make sure that they have the information about their rights and services that are pursuant to CR Part 154 and ESSA as well. It provides a mechanism to respond to specific inquiries about the delivery of services. Okay, now I'm going to give you another example of things that people may not be aware of and that we really should make sure that they're aware of it. I can't believe that, we have principals, we have, staff that do not know about McKinley-Vento. McKinley-Vento is a United States federal law that provides federal money for homeless shelter programs. It affects the enrollment of some of our students because they may fall into that category. And how do we know that they fall into that category? Well, actually, it's even included in the enrollment forms where they have to check for residency. If a child, especially in this category, doubled up, they fall into McKinley-Vento. Because it says if a child is living with another family or other person, because they do not have anywhere else to go, and many of our migrant students are in that situation, either they are in shelters or wherever temporary housing situation they may be, but they may also be living with an uncle or with, an aunt or even just a friend. So they becomes D classification on the ATS code. For those of you who do have ATS code, New York City, but they become doubled up. Therefore, under McKinley-Vento, they are, they have certain benefits as a student who is in temporary housing. And the other important thing is that whatever information that they provide to the school is confidential, and also that they are not required to submit proof of residency and other requirements immediately. Okay. So as far as saying to the parent, well, you have to go get the vaccination card, you have to get residency form, you have to get this, that, or school forms, and until you can get enrolled, no, you can't do that. That's not the law. Okay, so that designation will determine the services that that child can receive, and sometimes that even includes transportation. Okay. And regular transportation regulations may not necessarily apply to them, but under McKinley-Vento, they might be able to get transportation based on their status. So those are questions that we can explore, with the parents. So that's important to know. Another inequity that we sometimes speak about is with the seal of biliteracy. Let me see. Ooh, I think I lost my chart. I had a chart to show you. Okay, here it is. Okay. To show you, and this is the most recent chart that I could use to show you what happens with the seal of biliteracy that should be available. And we thought that was going to be something primarily for English language learners. But look, most of the students receiving the seal of biliteracy are not necessarily RLs. Here are the number of Ls receiving seal of biliteracy versus those who never were Ls. Okay, it's much more than, what is it, 300%? Okay, so again, so we have to look and see what we can do to ensure that we provide that benefit, you know, to our students. So there's an annual report, and if you can always check for yourself, there's an annual report that should be published in regard to seal of biliteracy, not only in New York State, but in other states as well. Okay. Now, so some of the things that we can do, we you know, we can certainly look at a lot of the things that we spoke about and why we spoke about them. Basically, it is to look at how we provide access. How do we provide equity access so that these students can really benefit from those services that they are entitled to? So again, you know, to make connections, it's important for us to know the real story, to know the real story about the history, the language, and culture of our students and families. And I think Dr. Fouron did an excellent job in presenting that history to us. It's not the few things that we usually hear on the news. And it's important that we help our families also expand their knowledge and to support the positive self-image, the self-esteem that we need our students to have. Glossaries are available on our websites as well, you know, that should be provided to students, but not just the first, the day that they're taking the tests. Okay. So we need to become familiar with the writing and language system that students bring to the classroom. This knowledge allows teachers to find the similarities and challenges students will encounter while learning English. So Yves Raymond is going to be helping us with that. We're very happy to have him with us today so that we can have a thorough look at that. And we will review some other resources with you later. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to put up Yves' PowerPoint so that he can share some of that knowledge with you. If you have any questions or comments, please do put them on the chat. I'm sorry that we can't all be speaking at the same time because we have so much to cover, but we will have a time for Q&A at the end of Yves' presentation. So please do put your comments and questions in the chat. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Yves.
Eve, you're on mute.
Unmute yourself, Yves. What's your mute lang? Yves, what's your mute lang? Okay, let me call him so that he can see to do that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
All right, now we can hear you. Okay,
Okay, yes.
thank you.
My name is Yves Raymond. I'm a retired teacher, bilingual coordinator. Now, I mostly work as a consultant, interpreter, translator. So today, my presentation is going to be, the title of it is a contrastive analysis of English and Haitian Creole. This is particularly useful for teachers, both bilingual, monolingual, teaching ELL students of Haitian background. So we're going to compare the two languages and see where they are similar, where they are different, so you could help the students in your classroom. And again, it's not just for English teachers, ESL teachers, it's for all teachers because we are all teachers of English. So I'm going to start with the linguistic situation of Haiti. Nicole asked me to include that in my presentation today. Haitian Creole is the principal language of communication in the Republic of Haiti. It is spoken by all Haitians, and it is the sole means of communication of the vast majority of the population. However, today, Haitian children are still subjected to a school system that largely operates in a language, French. Few Haitians speak with competence, let alone can read or write. It is estimated that roughly 5 to 10% of Haitians are functionally bilingual in French and Haitian Creole. But however, for over the last 50 years, the wind of change has been blowing. Things are beginning to change. And one of the things that happened was in 1978, the Minister of Education at the time, Bernard, introduced a reform. And one of the major innovations of the Bernard reform was the use of Haitian Creole as the language of instruction in the first 4 grades of primary school. In 1980, an official orthography for Haitian Creole was introduced to go along with the reform. It's that particular writing system that is in use today. It's a phonological writing system where there is a one-to-one correspondence between phonemes and graphemes. Other positive things happening, among other exams, Haitian students have to take an official Haitian Creole exam at the end of the 9th grade and at the end of the secondary school cycle to prove, to show their competence in Haitian Creole. Now, the Haitian Constitution of 1987, Article 5, says that all Haitians are united by a common language, Creole. Creole and French are the official languages of the Republic. Article 24.3a states, it must formally state the reason. They're talking about when they're arresting people or when they are in detention. It must formally state the reason in Creole and in French for the arrest or detention and the provision of the law that provides for punishment of the act charged. Article 40, the state has the obligation to publicize in the oral, written, and televised press in the Creole and French languages all laws, orders, decrees, international agreements, treaties, and conventions on everything affecting the national life, except for information concerning national security. Article 214, a Haitian Academy shall be established to standardize the Creole language and enable it to develop scientifically and harmoniously. And that academy has been established, and it's now, it has published its 2nd resolution on the language. Today, the oral and televised press operates primarily in Haitian Creole in Haiti. Debates in Parliament take place in Haitian Creole. The president addresses the nation in Haitian Creole. Young people text each other in Creole. And there are some schools in Haiti where Creole is the primary language of instruction. To name a few, Saint-Ouen-Tifleur, l'École Communautaire Maternois du Développement. Also, I must also say that there are some pretty decent dictionaries and glossaries in Haitian Creole now. Now, back to my presentation. I'm going to go through the first few slides fairly quickly because I went through them last time. Okay, so the sounds of English and Haitian Creole, orthography and phonology. Approximately 44 sounds, what we call phonemes in English, depending on accent and articulation. In Haitian Creole, we have 32 phonemes. Both languages use the Roman alphabet to represent sounds. We use graphemes to represent sound in both languages. A grapheme is a written representation of one sound. A grapheme can be a letter or a cluster of letters. Some graphemes are made up of one letter, like D in dog, 2 letters, CH in cheese, 3 letters, DGE as in edge. Haitian Creole also has 1 letter, 2 letter, and 3 letter graphemes. Haitian Creole uses a phonological writing system each sound can be represented by one and only one grapheme. For example, if you compare the word sec in Haitian Creole to the word circle in English, sec means circle, you will see that the first sound in that word is S. It's an S sound that the English represents with the C letter. And the second, the K sound in Creole is represented with a different letter, which is K, whereas in English it's represented with the same C letter. So in English, you have a situation where the same letter represents two different sounds, not the case in Haitian Creole. For example, well, I've given some examples of different graphemes representing the same sound in English, such as in cat, you have a C, character, you have a CH, kit, you have a K. There are no silent letters in Haitian Creole. In English, you have plenty of silent letters in different words. I give some examples here: island, no, pneumonia, salmon. Some sounds are the same in Haitian Creole and English, especially the consonant sounds. And I give a few here: B, D, etc., etc. I'm not going to dwell on that. Now, one of the main, the short vowel sounds are especially hard for Haitian Creole speakers to hear and to produce, as you will see in a minute. There are sounds that exist in English that do not exist in Haitian Creole. In 1 minute. Sorry. Okay, for example, the short A sound is a sound that exists in English, but does not exist in Haitian Creole. Short A sound that you find in words such as cat, as, mat, etc. The short I sound, as in it, kit, kiss, fit, in, etc. English learners of Haitian descent often substitute the long E sound for the short I sound. Therefore, they might pronounce fit and feet the same way, beat and bit the same way, beach and the other one that I'm not going to say the same way, and that could create some issues. The short O sound does not exist in Haitian Creole, sound that you find in words such as top, hop, mop, etc. The short U sound, as in up, cup, puppy, duck, etc. Now, these are especially troublesome for English language learners of Haitian descent. Vowel sound found in words such as book, cook, took, shook is often mistaken for the vowel sound found in words such as shoe, to, school, tool by Haitian Creole speakers. The first set of words is often pronounced as though it contains the vowel sound found in the second set of words. By contrast, there are sounds that exist in Haitian Creole that do not exist in English. Un, on, are nasal vowels in Haitian Creole. They are found in words such as pan, pen, pon, ungan. When these vowels are uttered, they produce a nasal sound. That's because the air that comes out of your lungs from their utterance passes through both your mouth and your nose. And if you try to hold in your nose as you say these sounds, you will see that the air tries to come out of your nose. However, no distinct end sound is heard in their pronunciation. These Haitian vowel sounds have no equivalence in English. When the A letter has the grave accent on top, when it's followed by the letter N, it produces a sound found in words such as pan, van, etc. This sound does not exist in English. the grave accent is used to show two distinct sounds, the A sound and the N sound, as opposed to the vowel which represents a single sound. Therefore, in the word pan, three distinct sounds can be heard: the P sound, the A sound, and the N sound. Whereas in the word pan, you only hear two sounds, the P sound and the sound. The semi-vowel UI represents the sound found in words such as nuit, puit, l'huile, etc. This sound does not exist in English. One of the big other differences that we find between the two languages is the R sound. The English R is pronounced differently than the Haitian Creole R. In Haitian Creole, your tongue stays flat between your lower teeth, and the R sounds comes from the throat. So for example, you would say the word rat, Whereas in English, the R requires the back of your tongue to be put against your upper teeth, almost against the palate and the lips are somewhat rounded. So the R sound in English is pronounced in your mouth. So you would say rat. In Creole, you would say rat. In English, you would say rat. There is no R sound before the vowels O, on, U in Haitian Creole. Instead, it's a W sound that appears before these vowels in words such as wo, woklo, won, woo. The TH sound found in English in words such as the, that, theology, with, math does not exist in Haitian Creole. Haitian students will often use a D sound, a T sound, or an F sound in place of the TH sound when saying words such as the, they would say the, that, theology, with, math, maybe, something like that. In English, the grapheme G can represent the hard G sound or the J sound. An example of an English word where that applies would be the word gorge, gorge. In Haitian Creole, the G sound is always represented by the letter G, and the J sound is always represented by the letter J. Actually, it's the J sound in Haitian Creole. Example, in Creole, you would have garage, whereas in English, you would have garage. Both the G, the hard G, and the J sound in English are represented by the letter G. In Haitian Creole, the letter Y never represents the sounds found in English words such as baby or sky. The letter Y is a semi-vowel that represents the sound that is found in words such as you, yes, yo-yo, yam. Now, this was about the sounds of the two languages. Now let's look a little bit at the morphology, the forms of the languages. Commonalities with English. Both languages use suffixation to change parts of speech or meaning of words. For example, work, worker. In Creole, we have travail, travailler. Both languages use prefixes to change parts of speech or meaning of words. Example, impossible in English or impossible in Creole. In general, nouns and adjectives do not have a masculine and feminine form, except in very few cases where you would say Haïtien, Haïtienne, beau garçon, belle fille. But in general, they do not have a masculine or feminine form. Again, with the morphology, Haitian Creole verb endings are not changed for person, number, tense, or mood. Various markers, they are listed here, are used before the verb to indicate tense. Example, m'al l'école chaque jour. I go to school every day. If you want to put it in the past, m'te à l'école hier. I went to school yesterday. So you use the marker te to indicate the past tense. While English relies extensively on passive morphology, Haitian Creole makes very little use of it. An English sentence such as the mouse is eaten by the cat would be rendered in Haitian Creole as chat la mangé sourit la. The cat ate the mouse. There are a few instances where we would use a passive construction in Haitian Creole. Again, morphology. In English, plurality of common noun is expressed by using the plural marker S at the end of the noun. In Haitian Creole, it is expressed by using yo after the noun. Example, in English, you would say the books. In Creole, you would say leave yo. In Haitian Creole, personal pronouns have a long form and a short form. Moi, ou, li, nous, yo. And if we use the verb aller and we use the short form, we would say male, wale, lale, nale, nale, yale. Now notice the nous. We use the same personal pronoun nous to indicate both the first person plural and the second person plural. So therefore, we eat and you eat would both be expressed as nous manger. In Haitian Creole, the definite article has four forms. La, a, un, la, a, un, non, or l'un. The forms are phonologically determined and they appear after the noun. They vary according to the ending sound of the preceding noun. For example, you would say livre la, auto wa, pain, cabane nan, or cabane lan. Unlike English, Haitian Creole words do not end in consonant clusters. You have artist. In Haitian Creole, you would say artiste. Exact. Haitian Creole, you would say exact. Raffle, raf. Table, tab. Now, this is a major one because Haitian Creole speakers often drop a consonant sound at the end of English words ending with two consonant sounds. Words such as closed, saved, laughed, wronged. Now, let me tell you a little story that happened, a real story that happened in my school. There were a bunch of incidents where Haitian students were getting beat up simply because they were Haitian. And the principal had a meeting in the auditorium with the students to express, his sympathy and to tell them what he was going to do about the situation. So one of the things he said to the students, he said, I know you were wronged. The kids started saying, what? What is he saying? What does it mean we were wrong? The kids took it very differently. He said, you were wrong, ED, but the kids heard you were wrong. So the kids came to me asking me, what is he saying we were wrong? We almost had a mini riot in the auditorium as a result of that. So just to show you that these sounds, these consonant sounds at the end, when you have two consonant sounds at the end, very often they will drop one of them. And very often they will only hear only one of them. Now, let's talk a little bit about syntax. Commonalities with English. The basic word order in the two languages is subject, verb, object. Now, there are definite and indefinite articles in both languages. However, the definite articles follows the noun in Haitian Creole. You would say the book in English, or a book. In Creole, you would say livre la, or yon livre. In either language, adjectives do not agree in number with the nouns they modify. These are beautiful houses, kai sayo bel. Adjectives in Haitian Creole tend to be post-nominal. They go after the noun, except for the cardinal numbers, such as first, second, third, premier, deuxième, troisième, and the following adjectives. And the following adjectives that tend to be pre-nominals. Ti, gros, bel, bon, mauvais, vieux, grand. Example, yon moun honnête. In English, it would be an honest person. So most adjectives in Haitian Creole are post-nominal. Haitian Creole uses the interrogative marker est-ce que at the beginning of a sentence to ask a question. Est-ce que y allait l'école chaque jour? We don't use an auxiliary for negation. The word pas is simply placed in front of the verb. Example, mwen pa konen réponse lan. I do not know the answer. Let me turn off my phone. Okay. Double negative is acceptable in Haitian Creole. Mwen pa konen anyen. We translate it literally as do not know nothing. Li pa ka pa la. He cannot not be there. In Haitian Creole, the same form of the personal pronoun is used as subject, direct object, or indirect object, or object of a preposition. Li konen li. He knows him. So you see, he knows him would be translated as li konen li. The same form is used both for subject and object. So li konen li would be translated as he or she knows him or her or it. Li bam yon kado is translated as he, she gave me a present. Pale avem. Talk to me. Now the third person, now this is another key one. Third person singular personal pronoun is not gender specific in Haitian Creole. Li can mean he, she, it, him, or her. So very often you'll find Haitian students have a lot of difficulty distinguishing he and she. Okay, they'll say he for she or she for he. So this can happen quite often. In Haitian Creole, when describing a series of actions performed by the same person, personal pronoun must be repeated each time. I ate, drank, and went to sleep. Haitian Creole, manger, m'boire, et puis mal dormi. When two verbs have the same direct object, the object must appear after each verb. I buy and sell houses, m'achete kay, m'vend kay. Now, here is another one, the copula. English uses the copula verb to be as a connecting word to join a subject or predicate. Haitian Creole has three different forms of the copula. We have the zero form or absence of the copula, say form, and ye form. Copula does not appear in sentences where the complement is expressed by adjectives or expressions of place or time. The drawing is beautiful. Dessin en belle, no copula. Say joins a subject and a predicate when the complement is expressed by a noun phrase. This noun phrase can be a noun, a pronoun, a group of nouns, or a complex clause. Example, Mary is a journalist. Marie, c'est un journaliste. Ye appears in clause final position. It is used in questions such as, comment vous ye? How are you? Semantics. Let's address a little bit of semantics. Many words directly correspond in meaning. For example, leave, book. Many words and expressions do not share the same semantic field. For example, gagner in Creole can mean to have. It can also mean to win. Moi gagne deux petites, I have two children. Moi gagne en loterie, I won the lottery. The two languages share some cognates, and this is something you could build on in your teaching of English. Telephone, téléphone, police, police, ambulance, ambulance, philosophy, philosophy. There are also false cognates in Haitian Creole. Librairie is a bookstore. It's not a library. Imposer is to forbid. It's not to impose. Friction is a massage. It's not friction. So I'm going to stop here and say to you that Haitian Creole has a rich oral tradition. Both students and teachers can tap into a vast heritage of proverbs, riddles, folktales, and idioms to make the study of English and native language arts fun and exciting. And the other thing I want to say is many Haitian students come from a teacher-dominated environment, and are not always comfortable challenging adult opinions or expressing their own. Therefore, listening, speaking, reading, and writing for critical analysis should be encouraged and nurtured in all subjects. Thank you. Nicole, you have to unmute. Unmute.
I thought I unmuted. Okay, so sorry about that. I clicked on it.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, I was just saying that that was a lot to take in. So I'm sure you have a lot of
Yes.
comments and questions, you know, that you may have. So if you have any, either for Yves or for Dr. Fouron, myself, or Kari-Lee, this is the time to ask your questions or to add your comments. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
My name is, je m'appelle Gabrielle. I was at Stony Brook University with Dr. Fouron. I became an ENL teacher, and I just personally chatted to him that he was a hero for me. He's such a valuable professor. He helped me get into ESL. I see he's covering his mouth now. You have to find the little message I just sent you. But yes, we are now getting a lot of Haitian students on Long Island. I'm in Freeport. This is my 34th year teaching. I just can't seem to bring myself to retire. So I'm well over past retirement. But we are getting a lot of Haitian students, and I use French with them and Haitian Creole, and whatever they tell me they're more comfortable using, I use. And it's very interesting. They're wonderful students. They work hard. So far, the ones that I have met in my room, and they're lovely. We just love our students. Of course, most of our students are Hispanic, because I am in a district where we have a very large Hispanic population. We're in the middle of administering the NYSED right now. But so yes, that was a very intense English lesson. Merci for this English lesson. Haitian lesson, I would really have to go back and look at all of that again to understand some of it. Some of it I can relate to a little bit of Spanish, because I do speak Spanish fluently. And a little bit I can try to relate to French. But I must at this moment give Georges Fouron a beautiful shout out, and what a hero he was for me. I know you remember me.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Fouron is really a really rich resource for us in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. It's been a while.
Yes, at least 34 years.
Yes, yes.
Freeport has a history of having quite a few Haitian students. I remember visiting years ago at Freeport.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for a while it stopped, I would say. It's only just recently we've started to get maybe 2 to 5 a year in our middle school. You know, I guess I felt like, well, then it's time to brush up on anything I should know about students coming from Haiti.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you for sharing.
I have a question for Yves. I say that you wrote Nuit, N-U-I-T. Why didn't you use a W for it?
You could use both. You can use, some people say cuit, some people say huit, for example.
Right.
But they don't say wheat. Some people say huit,
Right.
mango. But they wouldn't say wheat mango. So you find they alternate between, well, not alternate, but some people do say huit. Some people say juif. Some people say juif.
Right.
Some people say suif. Some people say suif. So you have both. You can have both.
Yeah, I've seen it both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Monique, you seem to have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you. That was a lot to take in with regards to language, but I do appreciate it, and I do plan on going back and trying to ingest and learn more. Yeah, I was relieved because now certain things make sense in terms of the he, she. That now makes sense to me. I'm from Wyandanch, and we have always had significant Haitian Creole speaking students, but not as many as our Spanish speaking. And I think our trend has been pretty much the same, except recently we have had a few more students. What was interesting for me was getting more students who were fluent in Spanish, and or multilingual, and that was a new situation for me. My question lends itself more to credits and the direction of scholars when it comes time to register in schools, particularly secondary students. And if there are concerns, but also resources so that our registrars and our administrators are giving the opportunities that our Haitian students are entitled to, and how they're being directed, if you will, in terms of their educational journey here in the United States.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We've offered quite a few, the RBERNs have offered quite a few professional development in regards to that, to help people really navigate this whole issue. And we hope that they attend, but too often we keep discussing how we can best reach the administrators who do make the decisions, and those who do program kids, etc., in regards to all of that. The other thing is, as far as students who may be multilingual, yes, you may have received students who really were born in Chile or Brazil or something, and some of them are Spanish speakers as well. La Cucaju, for those of you, especially in the elementary level, La Cucaju is publishing some books that are bilingual, Creole, Spanish, which will really very interesting that you may want to access. So we can talk about that also. Let's see, we have Alina, you had your hand up. I'll get to.
Hi, how are you? I'm a high school teacher in Department of Education, New York City, and we did receive an influx of Haitian students. So my question is this: when the students speak to each other, they use Creole. However, every time when they ask for a glossary or anything academic text to be translated, they always ask for it to be in French. So I know you said both those languages are the official language in Haiti. I was just wondering why, and this is across the board. I have about 10 of them, and every time when they ask for something translated in print, they said they don't want Creole, they want French. Is there an explanation for it, or it's just written French easier for them than written Creole? Or I'm just curious.
Yves, you may want to answer that, since you had that experience, especially at the high school level for quite a few years.
Well, my experience is different at the high school level. My experience was that if you want students to use Haitian Creole glossaries, you have to put it in their hands from day one when you're teaching, and you have to keep referring to it. They get used to it, they use it. But if it's a one-shot deal where, for example, they're giving a test, they say, here are the glossaries, then the students will be reticent to use those glossaries. So that's one thing. The second thing is many of these students are not proficient in French as they would like to have you believe. And as a matter of fact, if you were to give them a glossary in French, I don't know how helpful it would be to them. Again, that would depend on their level of education in Haiti. That would depend on how much French, because you have to understand the home language for Haitians is not French. They're not speaking.
That's why I'm asking. It was a little odd to me, but we give them a choice. We have glossaries in all the languages, and we just ask the student to choose the one that they're most comfortable with and the one that they want to use. We're not pushing one over another.
Can I add to it? Right. When you're done, I'll add to when you're done.
The
Yeah.
other
Yeah, so also I think there is a sense that for a while when Haitian students were asked, well, not just students, Haitians were
parents.
asked, what language do you speak? When they came to the United States, let's say in the 70s, in the 80s, when they were asked what language do you speak, they would say French, knowing full well that they didn't speak French. Okay.
Prestige.
So, and yeah, and things started to come to light when Haitians would go to hospitals and they would ask for a translator. They would ask them what language you speak. They'd say French. They'd bring in a French translator, and they couldn't understand that translator. So, you got to be careful what they tell you versus what the reality is, because they've been taught that French is the language of prestige, the language of educated people, the language of intellectual, whereas Creole is the language of the uneducated. So there is all that prejudice behind it also.
Thank you.
And
that I didn't know. That actually explains a lot. Thank you.
And especially what, to underline what Yves says about what educational experience do they have? What kind of schools did they come from? Now, if you look at the schools I showed you, depending on the type of schools they came from, the development of the academic language may be different. And the academic language is only going to go as far as the academic instruction that they've had. So he said they're not going to understand everything. They may understand what they've been exposed to academically in the schools where they've been. In some of the schools that I showed you that are in the countryside, etc., even the teacher doesn't speak French that well. And they're teaching in French, but it's like whatever they think the French is. Okay, so you have all of that. So that's why we keep really stressing the importance of using the glossaries, using your Title III monies to maybe get some F-status people or teachers who can come in and really work with teachers so that the students already having the experience of taking tests in the language, being exposed to it, especially when we're talking about math, when we're talking about science, that they have that experience with teachers. There are schools that the principals do that. They'll bring in a status teacher once a week or after school, to work with those kids in that language. So by the time the test comes around, they easily, can use the language they really understand. Let's see.
Nicole, can I just add real fast?
Sure.
In my experience, because I taught UNL for 21 years, same thing that Yves and Nicole said, it's about prestige. And again, you'll have some students who are, fully fluent in both English and Haitian Creole. But I think the meter by, saying, okay, let's try to read this, but in a, diplomatic way to show what they really know will help. I did have a situation once where this Haitian girl really got into some Haitian boys, and she said, look, stop acting like what you speak is not a language. I shared this last time, I believe. They're like, you don't speak French, you speak Haitian. And when you do speak French, you speak it with a Haitian accent. It's time for you to accept that our language is a language. And I have to also say, it is not limited to Haiti. That's why I put the link in the chat about various Creole languages, which are really languages. We can drop the Creole after a while, around the world. That's what happens to some Jamaican students or Trinidadian students whose primary language may be the Jamaican language. and they say English. And it could be both. They could be bilingual. That's what happened to some people from Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America who say I speak Spanish, but they really have a Spanish-based Creole because that exists too, or they speak indigenous languages. So it's always important to really let them know that it's okay to embrace their real home language or languages. Thank you.
Colleen, you've had your hand up. I'll get back to you, Maria.
Let
Colleen?
me quickly add that these are the vestiges of colonization, where the people who were colonized, they tend to value what the colonizers, the language of the colonizers, the culture of the colonizers, rather than the indigenous languages or cultures. And it's always a struggle, to get kids to see. I mean, in Haiti, you have 100% of the population speaking Haitian Creole. So what would be so hard for Haiti to have education in Creole? Just a question.
And let me just add, as when we talk about education in Creole, since 1979, we have what we call the Réforme Bernard, the Bernard reform.
I did mention that.
Yes, Yves mentioned it to you, but I want to stress the fact that it outlines what should be happening in schools, just like we have here. It outlines that the first 3 years instruction should be strictly in Creole while they do French as a second language.
In the third year, French is introduced in the third year.
Yeah, it's introduced, written French is introduced in the third year, but they do talk about developing, oral language, at the beginning. And whether or not the schools do that, that's another question. The other thing is, when that came out and schools were a little reluctant to follow that, what did the government do? They had to take a test at the 6th grade level. So you know how we say, inspect what you expect? So once you have to take a test, it happens. So that's why a lot of the schools that were reticent about teaching in Creole begin to do that, because their kids had to pass the Creole language test. But, as you go along, you find some schools do and some schools, don't do as much. And I think that was one of the paradoxes that Dr. Fouron outlined from us, how we really do the very colonizers that we're fighting, we tend to, adopt the same measures, along the way. Carlene, are you still there?
Yes, I'm
you
here.
unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Yes. So my question was, I know one of the issues that, as we mentioned, we have with the students is that they'll come into the school and they will speak Haitian Creole. But as you mentioned, the language that they'll probably put down when we're registering is French, or so most times we have French, Haitian Creole. Now, I wanted to know if there were any
No such thing.
That's the delineation in when we're registering the students.
You have to tell them that they can put that, because there's no language that's called French Creole.
They have French, Haitian Creole. That's what they put when they register.
You cannot put that. Part of your registration should be talking with the parent, interviewing the parent, making sure that you're getting the right information. If the parent tells you they speak French and Creole, that's one thing, but they cannot be telling you that they speak French Creole, because there's no language called French Creole. Just as, for instance, we used to see on forms, Chinese everything. There's no language called Chinese everything.
No. What the first thing that you just said, that they speak French and Haitian Creole, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Not that.
All right.
Okay. So, but my main question is, as far as Haitian Creole is concerned, one of the issues that we have is when supporting the kids in the classroom. I guess that's what I wanted to hear from this session. When supporting the kids in the classroom, one of the issues that we have is there aren't any audio outputs that exist currently that offer Haitian Creole. For example, like Google Translate, Microsoft Translator, any of those things. Do you happen to know if there are any of those resources that will be available in the near future? Because, a lot of them, because that's what they speak, but there's no way to utilize the audio output because many of them don't read or write in Haitian Creole. Do you know if that's something that's in the works? There's something that exists, a platform that you have to pay for. Do you know if those things actually presently exist outside of Google Translate and Microsoft Translator?
Let me go to resources. If anybody if you have students coming to you that do not read or write Haitian Creole, that's because they haven't been in school, because the schools have been teaching Creole, as Yves said. And we find, in fact, a lot of students are more knowledgeable than us teachers who may not have gone through that system where we had used the language. So, so I would say they probably SIFE students perhaps, or that they haven't had that. One resource I wanted to call to your attention, because I know some of you mentioned last time if there were any way that you could learn basic Creole. We do have a little booklet that comes with a CD that we did for monolingual educators. So you may want to access that. You can access that through Espace Creole that has it pointed, and it may be also on our website. And we do have the CD. So if you're interested in that, you can email me. I'll see if I can find you copies of the CD as well.
So then more or less the answer would be no.
Well, no, the answer
right?
to what you're talking about, the resources that you were asking for as far as translations.
Yes.
Did you say that you didn't access Creole on Google Translate?
Right. If you use Google Translate, it will not speak in Creole.
Let her finish asking a question. Yes. What did you say? Yes, go ahead, Colleen.
They don't have the audio output. So we can speak it in English, but in terms of what the students will be able to hear, they can't hear it. They can only read it, but then now they don't read it. So, you know, that becomes an issue. So I wanted to know if there were any pre-existing platforms, because it's not available on any of the translating websites.
Oh, you're talking about the audio part. Okay.
Yeah, just to kind of support them in that way.
Is anyone familiar with that? Otherwise,
I was agreeing. You know, I can put something on in many different languages and Google Translate will speak to my students, but not in Haitian Creole.
Okay. Anybody else knows anything else? Otherwise, we can research that. Probably not, because especially now, not too many people are doing much with Haitian Creole as publishers or etc. that we used to have in the past, much more, simply because the bilingual programs have disappeared. So, you know, there's not really an interest from that point of view to have things available for people. I had
Can I just add one thing?
It was me. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Maria.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this presentation. I am a world languages teacher. I teach Spanish, but I also mentor other world language teachers in New York City. And some of the things that I work with are heritage speakers. So for a Spanish classroom, for example, we have a language of heritage Spanish learners, kids who were born in this country but speak Spanish. My question is, if the students in New York City, they have to take a language course in order to graduate, and they are put in a French or Spanish, if this kids, besides, you know, the students are in my classroom, let's say my Spanish classroom, and they're learning Spanish, besides using the similarities between the languages, and also besides, obviously, me as a teacher, learning about the culture and the history of the country, and learning that in Haiti, students are more like teacher center instead of student center in the classroom. Is there something else that I could do in my Spanish class or in my French class when I have a group of students who are heritage speakers, and I can give them so much more than just learning my name is in Creole or in French or in Spanish?
Can I say something here? So you're saying you have a mixed group of students with varying proficiency levels in French.
Right. How?
Okay, so I think that any class, whether it's ENL, social studies, science, math, will always have mixed proficiency level students. And I think this is where differentiated instruction comes in.
Okay.
So it would be like, these students may not be fully fluent in certain parts of, certain knowledge about French, but they have more than my students who are just being introduced to French. Maybe I'll speak with the student and the teacher in the next grade level, or the student teacher in the high school. This is where your district's assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, who oversees the entire district, comes in. This is where your department person comes in. This is where your principal or the designee comes in to look at everything that's available in the district and say, this is not, it's not fair for this person to be learning cat and dog. What else is available? And it really is, you know, the resources are not necessarily what we need them to be, which leads me to the next point, which is they will not create resources unless educators ask for it. So if you have a series, whether it's social studies, science, or whatever, and they say, well, we have it in Spanish, and you say, well, we have 20 or 5 Haitian students and we have an increasing number. Please make it available in Haitian Creole, then we'll support you. Then they'll eventually do that.
Okay.
So a lot of it has to come from the teachers.
Right.
And the educators who are in the classroom. Now, we can find resources on YouTube. There are a lot of things available. You may be able to look at Haitian schools to see what they're using, you know? So a lot of it's gonna have to come from without our current system, but there are things there, and some of things we just have to really say, yes, let's make it happen.
Okay.
Also,
Thank you.
we must say, Maria, as a world language teacher, all of that is really secondary, because in reality, the course for heritage speakers should be different than the course for
That's why I was asking,
beginners.
because I wouldn't want to, yeah.
We've done some workshops on that, and that's our pet peeve, especially when it comes to Spanish, because you have so many Spanish speakers.
Right. But
I could understand that it may not be you know, the school may not be able to have a special course just for maybe 5 heritage speakers. Well, they should, but you know,
they should.
Haitian speakers, but for Spanish, you have quite a few students. The course for heritage and foreign language learners is quite different.
Yeah.
It's quite different, and we can have a whole conversation about that. We've done PGs on that, so keep in touch, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
And I just want to also add, this is just the start. These 2 PDs, you know, that you have and you have on YouTube is just the start. From whichever language RBERN you're associated with, please feel free to reach out to them and say, we would like the RBERN to give us a more specific PD about this topic. We'll dedicate 3 hours or whatever. You know, it would be like, you know, September professional development. This is not it. This is not limited. I'm not trying to give work to anybody, but this is just general, tons of good information, but it doesn't end here. All right.
Julie? And unmute yourself, Julie.
Okay, thank you. I don't use Zoom as often now, so I'm a little challenged.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, and thank you so much for this presentation. The information is wonderful, formidable, like they say in French. And I really enjoy the conversation too about the importance of distinguishing Creole, Haitian Creole from French, and the conversation about why. Those kinds of things upset me when we feel like we need to downgrade parts of ourselves from former colonial ideas. And so anyway, I've enjoyed the conversation, and I'm a former New York City Department of Education ENL teacher with 17 years of experience. I had mostly Spanish-speaking students, students that spoke various Chinese languages and dialects, Russian. I haven't had a Haitian student, and I'm living now in rural New York, and it's very different. I have very few students, and I have for the first time a kindergarten, Haitian Creole speaking boy. And I also very much enjoyed the contrastive analysis at the beginning, which I didn't get to fully see because I drive long distances now and had to get home. But I'm interested in knowing more about that, because he's a true beginner, and I'm trying to do phonemic awareness and alphabet, and I have no materials, and I feel like lately, like I'm proceeding, you know, in not a very structured way.
What grade is your student?
Kindergarten.
Okay, if you're talking about kindergarten, you're talking about language and literacy. And I would suggest definitely that be done in Haitian Creole, if at all possible. Because if he does not speak English and you try to do phonemic awareness and all that in English, he may not be hearing the sound. Okay,
Right.
so you gotta be very careful about that.
Well, I only have him as the one student, and I'm also having that issue that people have mentioned with Google Translate. It doesn't say the words in Creole. So
Try La Cucajou, okay? I can text
What-
you some information on that.
Can you?
La
Um,
Cucajou, they have videos, etc. that may be helpful to you.
Okay, you'll,
That has, and they have quite a few on alphabet as well on YouTube that you can find. Creole alphabet. La
okay,
Cucajou, Lakou, La Cucajou, Kajou. Creole is very easy, as Eve said. The sounds don't
Phonetic.
change. That's it. Cat
Yeah,
is
it's
cat.
phonetic, like Spanish. The
Yeah.
letters represent what they say.
Exactly. Lakou,
Okay.
Kajou. Okay.
Caju.
And
Okay.
also you can
That's-
Google Creole alphabet and you're gonna find quite a few YouTube videos on that. That may
Okay.
be helpful for that child. And 5-year-olds just love videos, So
Oh, I know. And
Yellen?
I use a lot of music and I'd like to use games. Do you recommend anything that's on Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers, I should say? Anything,
Well-
are there any good materials out there for beginners?
We
Young
can't
children?
Quite a
really,
few,
we
but
can't, yeah, we
for
can't
Creole,
specifically, yeah,
I gave you those. But
Yeah.
keep in touch as Kari-Lee says, you can text us, okay?
yeah.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
email us. Yellen?
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this session needed. I'm in agreement with Yves Raymond about the Creole glossaries being placed in the hands of the students at the very beginning in order for them to be encouraged to use it because of the combination of the fact that, the idea that Creole is not the most prestigious language, but it is the one that is spoken, that is mostly understood. We do have a saying, Creole parle, Creole comprendre, which is Creole is spoken and it's understood. So basically, I remember myself when I was in school in the 70s, students were being punished if they spoke any Creole at all in the schools. So French was really the language that was being promoted. With that being said, coming here, we want to make sure that we create that environment where whatever the language is that they understand the most is where it is that we need to gain information that they may have to share. So having, I would say, access to that language from the get-go is really how we would get to know them better and how to support them better. So the glossaries is definitely a must. Getting other students that speak their language that are willing to help in terms of direction, not necessarily in teaching, that also help. They love to help one another that way. And I don't know if I didn't hear anybody mention Educa Vision, but they also have a lot of resources that can be used, especially at all of the levels, really, that can be used as a supplement. And one of the things too that I wanted to say before I leave is the discouragement that educators have in the fact that there aren't enough resources in Haitian Creole to really support. And we have to keep creating as curriculums are being changed. So it really puts a strain if the budget is not allowing time for that to happen. So what will happen is teachers get frustrated and they do not want to be to take on the responsibility of supporting the incoming students in their language. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Galen. I really call your attention to some of the resources that we have here. Galen mentioned Educa Vision. There's also Université Caraïbe, where you can go on their website and you can find materials on there. Espace Creole, I mentioned that you can find the little booklet that we have. And we also outline some resources as far as migration and immigrants and other things that you may need for your different immigrant populations that are coming in. And we encourage you to keep contact with the RBERNs and also with your CBOs. And if you don't know, you can always ask and email us your questions, And remember, you have the hotline as well. Make sure that your parents know about the hotline so they can be more informed. And there are definitely some CBOs as far as Haitian students are concerned, you know, that can be helpful, especially to the families. The Haitian Studies Institute at Brooklyn College is another resource, you know, that you can tap. So,
Nicole, they were asking earlier if you could please put the resources in the chat. Also, you could send it to me when I send the link to, when I send the link with the Zoom, if you want to send me the resources, these links here, I can also send that as well.
And let us remind you that, you know, this will be on YouTube. You can always go back and look at the slides on YouTube and get the information as far as the language is concerned, as far as, you know, the resources, and as well as the first session where Dr. Fouron really did such a great job, really letting us know the information that we need to understand the real history of Haiti and why Haiti is in the situation that it is today. So Dr. Fouron, thank you again for a wonderful job on that. And now you do have all those resources available to you. Thank you. And
there's a question about
you know,
the
we really
slides.
appreciate you participating today.
Yes, Nicole, there's a question about the slides. We're sending the YouTube link, so you'll be, you know, able to pause, to take screenshots, etc., as needed. And if there was something in particular you wanted to send us, you can send an email to Ms. Nicole Rosefort or to me.
Okay. I think we're good. So, merci tout le monde. Merci pour participation. Nou. À la prochaine.
Hello?
Oui, Dr. Fouron.
May I say one last thing?
Yes.
One area that we didn't touch that is very important is the assessment of the Haitian students in our schools, especially those who have been educated in Haiti. New York State offers the Regents exam in Haitian Creole, but Haitians are not familiar with multiple choice types of tests. In Haiti, those who have been educated in Haiti, it is more recitation or writing assignment that they give the students. So when you have students in your classes, you need to explain to them what a multiple choice type test is all about, because they're not familiar with it. They've never experienced it. That type of assessment doesn't exist in Haiti.
Yes, they need a lot of practice. That's why we say a lot of these questions, we have to think ahead of time. And as Yves said, you know, start at the very beginning, not just the day of the test, to really prepare our students to do that. And we encourage people, please use your Title III monies to provide that extra help that these students really need, you know? Yeah, extra help besides the regular help. Yes, thank you, Dr. Fouron, for that comment. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, did you put slides 39 and 40 up as well?
Okay, here we go. I didn't, right? And it went up here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I'm the MLL coordinator for Freeport Public Schools, and most times I find it very interesting. First of all, I find Haitian students to be absolutely phenomenal for many reasons, but most importantly because they're risk takers and they come into us speaking Haitian Creole, French, most often Spanish, and they are open to speak English, and I feel like they are superstars. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. But the second thing I'm going to say is I find that many administrators will call me and say, can you give them an MLS? I want to see if they are equivalent to the grade they're in. And the perception is always that they're going to be below grade level. And I want you to know that before I have tried my very best to get some few words of Haitian Creole, some few words of French, just to lift up their spirits throughout my day. If I'm in a building, I always try to seek out those students. But the interesting part is every time I've tested those students, they're always either on grade level or just quite right below it. So the perception that the children are coming ill prepared is not the correct perception. They might be frustrated with their new situation, but they are, when I test them in Haitian Creole or French, whatever they decide to choose, and after I go through a whole tutorial of how to pick multiple choice, because I did find that to be very interesting, they always come up either right on grade level or just slightly below. So they're coming to us with substantial potential learning currency. They're not just coming to us, you know, with nothing. They really are coming to us strong, is what I mean to say.
Well, remember what we said, that, you know, you have to really look at the individual student and you have to assess the individual student. You have to have a lot of conversations with the parent and the child, because you're going to have very different experiences. It depends on where they came from, where they live, what kind of school did they go to, what languages did they really speak at home, and what languages were they exposed to in school, and what school. You know, you need to find out all of that kind of information to really be informed on what you have. We have students, I'll give you an example, you know, like during the earthquake, the earthquake happened in January. Do you know we had Haitian students taking a physics exam, Regents exam in June, and they did better than the monolingual students?
I can see that.
You know? But at the same time, you may have had students who came and who didn't know how to read. Depends on what opportunities they've had and what experience.
No, I totally believe that, but I think that those students that have been fortunate enough to come to us are coming to us. I just don't want the perception to be that they're always coming to us lacking.
Exactly.
My perception has changed. Well, it never really changed. I always felt that they were coming to us with a backpack full of potential and positivity, because they're always coming to us with a language plus. So they're coming to us to be trilingual. So already I'm in awe of them, is what I want to know and what I want you to know. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and you may have students who are quadrilingual now, because you have those coming from Chile with their Spanish. And I'm encouraging them, don't lose it. Keep speaking Spanish, keep speaking French, Creole, and keep your languages, because those are opportunities. And you know, the sky's the limit when you have other languages in your pocket. You never know when you really number one on the line when they're looking for someone and you speak all those languages. And again, I really encourage you to look into your schools regarding the seal of biliteracy to afford that opportunity to our students as well, because too few of our L's are getting the seal of biliteracy. It may be because of the English, I don't know, there are always reasons, but nevertheless though, are we really giving them that opportunity? Are they having really great heritage curriculum, being exposed to great curriculum in their language in the high schools? Or are they really just learning cat and mouse, like the kids who are just learning the language? So are they really prepared to take that little exam to take the seal of biliteracy in those languages? So we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions in how we actually approach and we are providing that equity that we keep talking about.
Yeah, and I'm going to add this since we said it last session. I meant to say it earlier. The bilingual program requires a minimum number of students, 20 students per grade level per language in a district.
15 in New York.
Exactly.
New York City.
And the minimum is just that. It doesn't mean you can't have something for students if there are fewer students in your district or in your school. You can always do whatever you need to get done. You can have a bilingual program if you wanted to with 5 students.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, in New York City, the fact is it's 15, not in just one grade, in contiguous grade. If you have 7 kids in, let's say, first grade and 8 kids in second grade, that makes 15 in contiguous grade. So you should be having a bilingual program, for those kids. And literacy is so much easier if it's done in languages that the sounds are the same and they do not change, like Creole, like Spanish. The sounds don't change. Once you know that alphabet, that's it. C is C. In Spanish, for instance, S is S in Creole, and it's not, it's not something else. It's not Z. S is C. That's it. K is K. So it doesn't change. So it's so much easier for kids to learn how to read in a language where where the demands are not as much as they are in English.
Yes. I know we're officially closed. I want to add something to what Gerline said. They may not know about the seal. That is correct. And that's because emphasis are placed on some languages more than others. Unfortunately, I think not just Haitian Creole, any language that any student speaks in any school, whether or not they're else or they're or not, should be available, if possible, for them to get the seal of biliteracy. So again, it goes back to leadership.
Right. And I always say the problem with the seal of biliteracy is the fact that the students in the school can't get it unless the school applied to the district for them to be providing it. So a lot of principals do not know, or they don't really, or, you know, they don't really apply for it. So therefore it's not available to the kids. It's the same with everything else. It's astounding how, so many things that exist, for some reason, somebody in the school, especially those, who are making the decisions, do not know. I gave you examples of that McKinley Vento. I mean, it's really ridiculous, that we have all these mandates, we have all these benefits, but, people are not getting those benefits because people don't know about them, or that they're not really applying them. So that's why, I thought it was important to underline some of those. And I do it to you, with you, but now, go back and keep talking to other people and let them know, share the resources with them, so that the more, we spread the information, hopefully the more, our kids will get the services that they really deserve.
Can I ask a quick question and clarifying
Yes.
what you just said about the bilingual programs? You said it's 15 students in consecutive grades?
Contiguous grades. Yeah, that's what they
Okay.
mean. That's the language in the CR Part 154.
And is that the same for high school as well?
High school, I think it's not in contiguous grade in high school, right, Yolanda?
Right, it's more difficult in high school because of the different grade levels that are in the different classes. So it's not impossible, if you find a way, a good programmer that can program the students so that there's no conflict in the schedule where they can do it.
But what would the number requirements be?
For the high school, it's 20 students for the high school. So what we usually recommend is you can group 9th and 10th grade students together, and 11th and 12th, but it depends, are they taking geometry or algebra, so it gets more complicated at the high school level. But it's doable though. You just have to, look at the data and look at the courses that the students need. It is something that can be done by a good programmer.
Okay, so 20 students, and they have to all be taking the same core classes, or their entire schedule has to be the same?
It doesn't have to be the same. It could be by subject area. They don't have to have the same program, because they may be taking a science class and an algebra class. So, you have to see who needs the algebra, who needs the geometry, who needs the earth science, and so you have to look at each student individually and match them up. How many they need to take living environment, and how many need to take earth science, and then you set up your groups that way.
And each group has to have 20 students in the same language. That's what you're saying, though. That's the part that I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, well, it's 20, but as Kari-Lee mentioned, it depends on the school. It is 20, but let's say if you had 15, you can still offer the course, and as they come in, you might have new students coming in. You don't have to absolutely wait for the 20 to provide it.
Right.
So it depends on your programming in the school.
There's a
But the thing is, if you have 20, then you're out of compliance. That's the other thing people don't understand. When they choose not to do something, they're actually out of compliance, of a mandate that they should be implementing. But you wouldn't be out of compliance if you had 15, but you could still have it if you had 15. That's what we mean, if that's clear.
Is there someone that I could speak to about programming around that?
That's going to be...
We've helped schools to do that. That's one of the things Yolanda and I, have done. If a school requests that we help them to do that, we have done that. So just email us.
Yeah. And that person would be whoever does the master scheduling for your district, your school. Because,
Yeah,
you
we
know, they
meet with
tend
that
to,
person.
yeah, they tend to say schedule around English learners and students with disabilities first, build that first. That's typically, I know there's a master scheduler on the line. I won't call that person out, but
Unfortunately, sometimes the program lasts, the L and the
And then there's no time.
ST, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will reach out for
Yeah,
follow-up conversation on that.
you can email me at nbr3@nyu.edu. You have it in the emails that we sent you. Any one of us at the language RBERN at NYU.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Right, welcome.
Yves, can I ask a question pertaining to language? I'm a French teacher in Central Islip on Long Island, and we've gotten a lot of Haitian students recently. Right now in my French class, I'm teaching the past tense. I was just wondering if there is agreement in the past tense in Haitian Creole, or if they're if that's a thing or not, because that's we have agreement in the past tense with French.
Nice question, Eve. What's the past tense in Haitian Creole? You're gonna love the answer.
As I said in the presentation, to do the past tense in Haitian Creole, you use a marker. The marker is T, T-E. Went à l'école hier. I went to school yesterday.
Okay.
You don't change the suffix of the verb. You don't change the ending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simply at the marker, the verb stays the same. For example, the verb aller. The verb aller stays the same. You use different markers to indicate the past, the future, the conditional. For example, to indicate the conditional, you would use ta. Mwen ta aller l'école, si m'te gen l'argent. Or whatever.
Simte, if I had, simte, gain.
So
Te in front of
that's the
anything that you want to
difference.
say in the past.
That's the difference between the verbs in Haitian Creole and in French. In French, you would change the ending depending on whether it's first person, second person. In Haitian Creole, the verb stays the same. What changes are these markers that you add in front of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you see how easy Creole is, you know, for kids to deal with. You know, you put te in front of anything, any verb you want to say. That's it, and that's the past.
I have a question. That's the same. Same as Chinese. It's the same as Chinese. We don't have the verb change. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. I forgot the name.
Raymond?
Yes. What is his contact number? I wanted to ask him a few questions. So.
Your best bet is to email us, and then they can, you know, then we can contact you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. If you send us an email, we make sure that Eve gets it.
Okay. Thank you.
I think there was another question.
Let me put my email in the chat just so in case you can be sure, but we certainly emailed you.
Thank you.
Pamela, was that you?
I'm sorry, I have to go. I have to go teaching to teach my classes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fouron, for
Thank
being here.
you.
We
Thank
really
you,
appreciate
Eve.
your
It
presence.
was excellent.
And those
Thank
of you who did
everybody.
not hear Dr. Fouron's presentation on the history, we encourage you to do that in this session 1, because we don't want you to think of Haiti just of what you just hear, especially on TV or on WhatsApp. You get a lot of fake news.
I think somebody else had unmuted with another question before we sign
Yes.
off.
Somebody else had a question or a comment? Okay. All right. So we encourage you, you know, with your questions and your comments, don't be out there all by yourselves. We're here. The RBERNs are here, you know, to really support your work and support you as much as possible. We know it's very challenging out there. And with all the new students and the new curricula that, you know, all the work that you have to do. So please do keep in contact and we'll do our best to support you. Maris, did you have a word?
Yes, well, thank you. I was fighting to get in, so thank you. But I think you mentioned that with 15 to 20 students in a grade that they should have the bilingual. So how do
Or otherwise you're out of
who
compliance.
do we contact for that?
Otherwise, you're out of compliance. That is the responsibility of the principal of the school to ensure that the programs are implemented the way that they should be. Because let me tell you, when we talk about CR Part 154, Commissioner's Regulation 154, it's the same thing as Commissioner's Regulation 100. 100 tells the school, the districts, what subjects must be taught, for you to have to end up with a diploma. So for instance, you have to teach so many credits of math, so many credits of science, so many credits of social studies. So when people don't do that, then you're not implementing the New York State mandate. So that's the same thing with 154. 154 tells you what you have to do for English language learners. And one of them is, and especially not just 154, but we are also under the Aspera consent decree. And that's where we got the 15 versus the 20 in the state, because the Aspera consent decree mandated New York City to have a bilingual program offered to students if they are in one grade, 15 in one grade, or in contiguous grades in any language. Then they speak the same language. So it could be K1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, or whatever it may be. But one of the things that New York City has done, I should tell you, is that they have a parent selection form. And the parent selection form, they tell parents, okay, you have to choose what you want. Would you want to have a bilingual program or ENL program? And then they'll tell parents, well, you can just check ENL because we don't have bilingual here. They can't tell them that.
That's exactly
They
what they
cannot
do.
tell them that. So at
But
the end, they'll say, okay, we have 15 kids, but not all the 15 parents wanted a bilingual program. So that's why it's important to let parents know if, they can check bilingual, whether or not the school has a bilingual program. That's the school's problem, not the parents' problem. They're mandated to check whatever they want. They can check bilingual. If the school does not have a bilingual program, then they can accept to stay in the school until the school has a bilingual program. Then the kid can be in a bilingual program, or the school has to tell them where is their bilingual program if they want to go someplace else in the district. Okay, that's the mandate.
okay, can you just tell me, it's the acronym again, please?
Oh, those CR Part 154, Commissioner's
CR.
Regulation Part 154, CR Part 154.
Okay.
You'll see it in the first session. I talked much more about it. You
Okay.
can see the slide on that in the first session.
Okay.
And I can also send
I'm
it to
gonna
you.
put it in the chat.
Yes,
I'm
please,
gonna
because
put that link in the chat.
it's always a fight for me at PS6. We had a bilingual program, which they closed down, and now we're having more and more kids, and a lot of them, they are exceeding the grade level in math, and of course they have to learn English. Today I had the opportunity to meet some of them because because I couldn't test my own kids, so I had to stay with the kids who are not testing. And these kids are brilliant. You should see the kind of math that they're doing, but they don't speak English. Unfortunately, a few of them did not attend school, so they don't speak, they just cannot read at all. But you having about, I think I had about 19 of them. So it is continuous grade because I actually had third to fifth, and we have so many incoming in grades K through 2. And nobody's talking about that. We don't even have an ESL program. It's like some ESL. Anyway.
Well, what I can say to you regarding that is that the biggest problem we have is the change in principals, okay? Because you have new principals coming in, because as you said, your school has a history of having had a bilingual program, and a pretty good one in the past. However, with new principals coming in, the programs disappeared. And let me add this. There in the guidelines from New York City Board of Education, there's a manual that tells principal when you're closing a program, these are the steps you must follow. They don't even follow anything. And the thing is, you don't have districts anymore. You have the regions, you don't know. And those people should be monitoring what the schools are doing, but they don't. So until, people really are asked, how come you're closing a program and you didn't follow the steps? You didn't do what the guidelines asked for you to do, then they'll do whatever they want. But
They'll
that's
do
not the
whatever
right
they
thing.
want. And
Can I ask a question, a clarifying question?
Go ahead.
In terms of the requirements for a bilingual program, I'm in a middle school, Is it the focus on the language and the number of scholars, or must we also adhere to the level of proficiency for those scholars?
Language.
It's language. When we talk about 15 students, we're talking about 15 students who speak the same language and are in one grade or in contiguous grade. They speak the same language. Okay, so for instance, if you have 15 kids who speak Arabic, in grade 7 and 8, then, you really mandated to give them a bilingual program.
Okay, or 20 since we're not in the city.
Right, and you
If
can
you're not in the city, 20, yes.
right, and
Okay,
let's say
thank you.
let's say some of them are expanding level, and you can offer it, but
Yes.
you have to offer it
Yeah.
because the rule is this number of students speaking this number of language in this grade level, period. So you have to offer
Okay.
it. Some parents or students may say, "Nah, I'm good."
The other thing that
And-
schools
and-
have done, let's say, for instance, they are not L, let's say they passed the NYSED and they're not Ls, but you may have other students who are, they're not Ls, they were never Ls, but they're what we call heritage students. So in that case, the school may choose to do a dual language program where they can include those students, and then that helps them have a bilingual program. Some schools do that.
Yeah,
Then what's the recommendation for students who are coming from Jamaica and we're filling out that HLQ, and what kind of guidance can you provide us on that?
You can contact the Long Island RBERN for that. I'm from Jamaica. We had a session about this actually. So if you can hold on for a few minutes, I'll put that link in the chat. But I'll definitely call the RBERN because it's very similar. The only difference really, I shouldn't say the only difference. Linguistically, it's just that the language of the people who colonized Haiti was French. And the languages of the people who colonized Jamaica were Spanish first and then English. That's it. The same rules apply. The same historic things. We're right next to each other. The same period of human trafficking occurred with the people who spoke the same multiple hundreds of West African languages. It's just that the lexifier for Haitian Creole just happened to be French, and the lexifier for Jamaica happened to be English. The same attitudes exist even among the speakers. The same attitude exists in the difference is, whereas it's clear that French and Haitian Creole are not English, it is not as clear to some people that the Jamaican language is not English, and that some people are bilingual. Like I'm bilingual. I have a half sibling who's straight up a Jamaican speaker, and he has some full siblings who are bilingual. So even in the same home, you can have different, proficiency levels. So for that, it's tricky with regard to wording. Historically, it was recognized. Ms. Rosefort can tell you that she was involved in documents. We actually have a document I have back here, which is available on the statewide. Yeah, it's online. So if you hang on for a second, I'll send you that link as well. But certainly you can call me. Don't go. I will send you the link to the guidance document. It's a guidance document that's NYSED, and also a link to the YouTube video that we did in here in December. One moment.
Yes.
So while Kari-Lee looks at that, good afternoon, everyone. This is phenomenal, and I'm just like shaking my head like a bobblehead over here. So thank you. The first session and this session, if this was something, because I think we're sort of preaching to the choir, it seems, on this on the sessions. How do I just send an email and ask for professional development and a proposal so that the teachers and the staff and, let's say, the lead teachers in district are able to get this information through a professional development? And I know that I think my district is part of the consortium, but I just other people need to hear this who are not on here. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, we certainly hope that, you can go back to your area and really speak to the powers that be that we're talking about, either your school leaders or your region leaders, etc., so that, you could probably share this information with them and see how they might want to impose it, to their own, put in their own PDs, etc. In the past, it was easier. For instance, in New York City, when you had districts, you had a superintendent, who would specifically, but things don't function the same way anymore. So you are absolutely right. We'll have, a lot of teachers, a lot of coordinators, who do attend our sessions, and we keep looking to see how we can share that information with the leaders who do establish PDs.
Are you able to come to the district, I guess, or someone from your team? I'd love to have all of you, but will someone from the team be able to come to the district? So if I go speak to someone and say, look, here are the videos, watch them, but I really think that we need
Right.
someone in person, because if I give someone a video, they're gonna do other things. But if
We
you're
have
in
done-
person,
We have done some of that work. In fact, right now we're working with a district where the superintendent, requested that we work with their district. We present something with their districts, etc. So we're trying to plan on that. So they can certainly make that request, and then
Thank you.
our director would respond accordingly, whatever we may be able to do.
thank you.
Thank you for asking. Yes. Yeah, it's needed out there, right? Yeah. Yeah, we do try to at least outline the information that we want to get to these, to these folks, so that, the more we speak out, the more perhaps, the information gets out there. Yeah.
And just now, like Nicole talked about the syllabus literacy program, school leaders need to be willing to implement the syllabus literacy program, because I work in some high schools. Some high schools are doing it, some high schools just started, and some high schools hasn't even started yet. So this is also up to the leaders of the school. Everything as what Nicole said, you all said, like Dr. Grant said, it's all about leaders in schools. And these workshops are so important to help everybody. It's not only a small group of people. So